I never thought I'd be the kind of person to write one of these, but here I am. Maybe it's because I need to get this off my chest before I lose my mind, or maybe it's because I want someone to understand what I went through. Either way, I'll start from the beginning. I met Lisa 5 years ago at a friend's party. She was stunning, blonde, tall, with eyes that seemed to hide 1,000 stories. I was smitten almost instantly. She seemed perfect, kind, funny, the kind of girl who could make you forget your own name when she looked at you. I knew she was the one. We got engaged last year and everything was supposed to be perfect. The wedding was just days away. My family, her family, friends, all excited. We planned this big celebration and I was finally about to marry the woman I loved, or so I thought. But then, a week before the wedding, I started noticing things. Small stuff, her phone ringing at odd hours, her changing her schedule suddenly. I brushed it off as pre-wedding nerves, but then I caught her. By accident, really. I was coming back from work late and I saw her just as I turned the corner of the hotel lobby. She was sneaking out, her high heels clicking against the marble floor. I froze, heart pounding. Then I saw him, my best friend, Mark. They slipped out together, hurried like they were trying to hide something. I caught a glimpse of them through the glass doors. Mark was whispering into her ear and she was smiling, the kind of smile I'd never seen before. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd fallen into a trap I'd never seen coming. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That was the moment I knew I'd been blind. The worst part, I saw them slip into a nearby hotel. I could feel my face turn cold, my fists clenched. I wanted to run after them, scream, do something. But I just stood there, rooted to the spot, watching as they disappeared inside. My mind spun. How could they do this? Just days before the wedding, my lifelong plans falling apart because of their betrayal. The lies I'd trusted now felt like poison, coating everything I thought I knew about her. I remember the sharp sting of betrayal in my chest, like someone stabbing me from the inside. My palms were sweaty and my vision blurred. I wanted to call her right then and there, but instead I just stared. The photos of her and Mark, the hotel keys I found in her purse, everything suddenly made sense. My entire world, built on trust, crumbled in a few seconds. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying what I saw, trying to make sense of it. Her smile, Mark's nervous glance, they weren't just friends. They had crossed a line. I could feel a cold rage building, the kind that makes your skin crawl and your stomach churn. I knew I had to do something, I just didn't know what yet. The next morning I sat in my car outside her apartment. My fingers tapped the steering wheel, trembling. I needed a plan. The pieces were all there now, her lies, the evidence, the betrayal. I couldn't let her get away with this. Not without a fight. I decided I'd gather everything, photos, texts, hotel receipts. I'd confront her face to face. Not in anger, but with a plan. She needed to see she couldn't get away with this. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. I'd make her regret it. I still loved her, but I knew love didn't mean blind trust anymore. And so here I am, planning my move. The day of reckoning is coming. I can't wait to see her face when I finally lay everything bare. She thinks she's gotten away with it, that I'll never find out the full truth. But I've got a secret weapon and I'm ready to use it. I just don't know how I'll feel afterwards. Maybe broken, maybe free. Either way, this is only the beginning. I spent the day gathering everything I could find, screenshots of her texts, hotel receipts, the hotel key card I found tucked in her purse. Every piece was like a blow to the chest, but I had to stay calm. If I let my anger take over, I'd lose control, and that's not what I needed right now. I needed a clear plan, cold and calculated. My stomach was tight, and my pulse felt like it was trying to break free. I could taste the metal of anger on my tongue. Late that night, I sat on my bed, surrounded by the evidence spread across the sheets. I stared at the photos of her with Mark, their sneaky little smiles, the hotel room door with the handwritten note of the check-in time. I could almost hear her laugh, see her brushing her hair out of her face with that careless, confident look. That confident look that now seemed like a mask. I ran my hand through my hair and took a deep breath. I had to confront her. No more waiting. No more pretending I didn't see what I saw. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a decision. I would go to her apartment, but I wouldn't just storm in. I'd be calm, collected. I'd lay everything out and let her see the damage she caused. She needed to understand the consequences of her lies, how deeply she had hurt me. I didn't want her to think she could walk all over me or that I wouldn't fight back. I parked outside her place. The air was cold and my hands were trembling as I grabbed the door handle. I hesitated for a moment, then pushed it open. The apartment was eerily quiet. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. My eyes scanned the room and I saw her sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and froze for a second, like she knew I was there to confront her. "Lisa," I said, voice cold but steady. "We need to talk now." She looked guilty, almost guilty enough to break, but she tried to bluff her way through it. "What's wrong? Did you forget something?" "No," I snapped. "I saw you last night, sneaking out of the hotel with Mark. Were you planning to pretend it never happened?" Her face went pale and her eyes darted away, but I kept going. I pulled out the hotel receipts and the key card from my pocket and laid them on the table. Her hands trembled as she looked at them. That's when her mask slipped and I saw the flicker of guilt behind her eyes. "Is this what I think it is?" I asked. I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Oh, come on, don't lie now. I saw you with him. I saw the hotel, the key card, the receipts, all of it." I pointed at the evidence. "How long has this been going on?" She looked down and swallowed hard. Then she finally broke, tears welling up. "It was just a mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was stressed. Everything was so overwhelming." "Stop," I cut her off. "You think that makes it okay, that it's just a mistake? You lied to me for months, didn't you? All those late nights, the secret phone calls, the vague excuses. I trusted you. I should have seen it coming." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to hurt you. I swear I never wanted you to find out like this." "I don't care about your excuses," I said, feeling heat rise in my chest. "You betrayed me, that's what hurts the most, and Mark, my best friend, how could you?" Her shoulders shook as she sobbed. "I was lonely, I felt trapped. I didn't mean to ruin everything, please." I took a step back, my stomach twisting. I knew I had to stay composed, but I felt the fire burning behind my eyes. This wasn't just about losing her. It was about making her see the damage she caused. "You're right," I said quietly. "You did ruin everything, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." I paused, then added, "I've got a plan. You might want to prepare for what's coming." Her eyes widened with fear. "What are you talking about?" "You'll see," I said, turning on my heel. "Just know that I'm not the kind of guy who lets betrayal slide. Not anymore." As I walked out of her apartment, I felt a strange mixture of relief and anger. I'd finally confronted her. The truth was out. But this was only the beginning. She thought she'd gotten away with it, that I'd just forgive her and move on. She was wrong. I already knew what I'd do next, and she'd regret ever crossing me. The wheels of my revenge were turning, and there was no stopping them now. The worst part, I knew this was going to change everything, including me. The drive home felt like navigating through a fog. My mind was racing, replaying everything. Her tear-streaked face, the evidence I laid out, her trembling voice begging for forgiveness. But forgiveness wasn't on the table anymore. Not after what I saw. What I knew, I had to think clearly, plan every move, make sure she felt the full weight of her betrayal. I couldn't just blow up and hope for the best. No, I needed a revenge that would hit her hard but stay within the limits of what I could handle. Back at my apartment, I poured myself a glass of whiskey, the sharp burn briefly numbing the ache in my chest. I looked at the evidence again, spread across the table, screenshots, hotel key, receipts. The truth was staring right at me. But I didn't want just revenge. I wanted her to understand what she'd cost me, to make her feel like she'd been caught in a trap she'd set herself. I started drafting the plan in my head, step by step. First, I'd get her to come to the place I had in mind, somewhere neutral where she wouldn't have any escape. Then I'd reveal everything. The photos, the receipts, the hotel key. I'd record her reactions, make her confront her guilt face to face. No shouting, no violence, just her realizing how deep she'd sunk herself. Then I'd take it further. I wanted her to understand that her lies had consequences. Not just for me, she'd lose everything if I played my cards right. So I'd send her a message, something cold and calculated. Something that would make her realize I knew everything and that I wasn't going to let this slide. I typed out a message on my phone: "Meet me tonight. We need to talk. Alone." Short, to the point. I wanted her to think I was just as angry as she thought I was. But underneath, I had a plan to turn her world upside down. She'd think she was in control until she realized she'd walked into my trap. The hours ticked by slowly. When night fell, I dressed carefully, choosing my words and my tone. I picked a quiet, somewhat secluded parking lot, easy to control, no witnesses. I knew she'd come. I could feel it in my bones. She'd come because she'd be desperate to explain, to beg, to somehow make the damage less real. She arrived exactly when I expected. Nervous, eyes darting around, clutching her purse like a lifeline. As she stepped out of her car, I took a deep breath and approached her. "Glad you could make it," I said, voice even but with a sharp edge. "We need to talk." She looked at me, eyes red-rimmed, face flushed. "What's this about?" "You know exactly what it's about." I held up the evidence, the hotel key, the receipts. "You lied to me, Lisa, you betrayed me, and then you went behind my back with Mark. How long has this been going on?" Her lips trembled. She looked like she was about to cry again, but I wasn't going to let her off that easy. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt, betrayed, humiliated, furious. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake," she whispered. "Stop," I said firmly. "Don't insult my intelligence. I saw you. I know what you did." I paused, then added, "And I've decided I'm not letting this slide, not anymore." Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" "I've got a plan." I kept my tone steady, even. "You're going to hear me out, and then you're going to decide what your next move is, because I won't tolerate betrayal, not from you, not from anyone." She looked like she was about to protest, but I raised my hand. "No, listen. I recorded everything I'm about to tell you. I've got proof of everything, and I'm about to make sure everyone knows what you did." Her face twisted with fear. "Please don't do this. You're overreacting." "No," I interrupted. "This is just the beginning. You've pushed me too far. I want you to understand you're not getting away with this, not without consequences." I took a step closer. "Tonight, I'm going to give you a choice. You can come clean, tell the truth, and maybe we can figure out what's next. Or you can ignore this and I'll make sure everyone knows your secret, your choice." She looked like she was about to speak, but I could see the uncertainty flickering behind her eyes. I had her cornered, and I wasn't planning to hold back anymore. As she hesitated, I handed her a small voice recorder. "Start talking," I said. "Tell me everything. I want the truth, Lisa. No more lies." She looked down, then took a shaky breath. "Fine," she whispered. "You want the truth, here it is." And with that, she began to speak. I knew in that moment everything was about to change. The game was on, and I was ready to see how far she'd go to try and save herself. But the real shock was still waiting just around the corner. I sat there in the dim glow of my car's dashboard light, listening intently as Lisa finally opened up. Her voice was trembling, her words shaky but deliberate. She told me about the affair, how Mark had been pestering her for months, how she'd felt trapped and lonely, how one thing led to another. She begged for forgiveness, claiming it was a mistake driven by stress and a horrible moment of weakness. Honestly, hearing her vomit out her lies made my stomach turn. I could feel the anger simmering just beneath the surface, but I kept myself steady. This wasn't about shouting or screaming. It was about making her see she'd pushed me to the edge. I kept my gaze fixed on her, feeling the weight of everything, her betrayal, my heartbreak, my crushed trust. She looked so small, so fragile in that moment, and I knew I had to act fast before she could spin her web of lies again. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, black flash drive. Swiping the recorder off, I pressed stop, and her eyes flickered with panic. "You're damn right this is going somewhere," I said quietly, "and I want everyone to hear what you just admitted." I handed her the drive. "You've got 5 minutes to tell the truth. You can leave here and rebuild what's left of your life, or I can make sure everyone else finds out what kind of person you really are." She stared at the flash drive, eyes filled with tears and regret. "Please," she whispered, voice cracking. "You have to understand I was scared. I didn't want to lose everything. Mark, my job, my reputation, it all felt so overwhelming. I didn't mean to hurt you like this." I looked at her, feeling the cold hatred seep in. "You didn't mean to, that's a crock. You lied, you cheated, right under my nose, and now you want me to believe it's just a mistake. Sorry, Lisa, but I don't buy that crap anymore. You made a choice, and now you're going to face the consequences." Her hands clenched her knees and she looked down, trembling. "I never wanted you to find out like this. I thought I could fix it. I thought I could keep it quiet until I figured out what to say, but I see now I was wrong. I nodded slowly, my stomach twisting with anger. Wrong is putting it lightly, but I'm not here to lecture you about morals. I'm here to tell you what's going to happen next. I paused, weighing my words. You're not going to walk away from this unscathed, Lisa. You think you can just apologize and move on. No. You've shattered what little trust we once had, and I'm about to make sure everyone else knows it too. Her eyes searched mine, desperation flickering there. Please don't do this, I'll do anything, just don't ruin me. I scoffed. Anything? You already did. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave town for a while. Not a long one, just enough for everyone to forget you, for your reputation to take a hit. Then I will release everything I've got, proof, recordings, texts. And if I see you try to come back or contact me again, I'll make sure the world knows exactly what kind of person you are. She closed her eyes, tears running down her cheeks. You're serious. Dead serious, I said. This isn't a threat, it's a promise, and I'll do it if that's what it takes to make you realize what you've done. She looked broken, defeated. Okay, she whispered. I'll go, I'll leave, just don't destroy me. I took a long breath, feeling the rush of adrenaline. Good. I hope you learned something from this, Lisa, because next time it might be even worse. As she turned to leave, I felt that strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. I'd finally pushed her to the edge, forced her to face what she'd done. But the pain was only beginning to settle. I knew this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about closure, about reclaiming what little dignity I had left. I watched her walk away under the streetlights, her figure small and fragile. I could almost taste the bitterness of the night, like a bitter pill I was forcing down. I wasn't proud of what I'd done, but I knew I'd do it all again if it meant ending this nightmare. Now I had to prepare for what came next, the fallout, the silence that would follow. The real work was just starting, and I was ready. Because sometimes the only way to heal is to burn the past to the ground. The following days were a whirlwind of quiet planning and tense anticipation. I had handed over the key, sealed her fate by telling her to leave town, and set my plan into motion. I knew she'd try to contact me, maybe plead, maybe beg for another chance. But I wasn't interested in hearing her excuses anymore. I'd cut the cord completely. My mind kept circling back to that moment outside her apartment, that look of defeat on her face. It was oddly satisfying, but also a heavy weight in my gut. I spent the next few nights getting everything ready. The recordings I made, the messages I sent, the photos I snapped. I hired a lawyer just in case and prepped myself for the fallout. I knew she'd probably try to spin it, deny everything, and that Mark might even make excuses. But I had what I needed, and I was determined to make sure the truth saw the light of day. 1. Afternoon, I sat in my apartment staring at my phone. I had already sent the dossier, proof of her betrayal, to several close friends, my family, and a couple of people I trusted to handle things discreetly. The message was simple. Here's the truth. I'm done. Moving on. No drama, no accusations, just the facts laid out plainly. I knew I had to be careful. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my dignity. I wasn't planning to wait long. I wanted her to understand how serious I was. So I made a final call to my lawyer and asked her to prepare a statement to be released to the appropriate people if necessary. I didn't want to be the guy who spilled everything publicly, but I was prepared. If she tried to come back or make trouble, I'd have the evidence ready to shut her down completely. That evening, I got a text from her. Short, furious. She'd somehow managed to contact me despite everything. I stared at it for a moment, then took a deep breath. I knew what she was going to say, pleading, begging, trying to manipulate her way out. I didn't bother reading it right away. Instead, I sat back, feeling the weight of my decisions. I'd made my move. The ball was in her court now. Minutes later, she called. I let it ring out. Then she sent a message. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you so badly. Can we talk? I finally responded, typing slowly. It's over, Lisa. You made your choice. Don't contact me again. That was all I needed to say. I meant it. Over the next few days, things started to settle. I kept my distance, focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into work, spent time with friends who knew what I'd been through, and tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in my stomach. Part of me wondered if I'd gone too far, if I'd crossed a line I couldn't come back from. But then I remembered her face, the guilt, the regret, and I knew I'd done what I had to do. Meanwhile, I kept my eyes open for any further surprises. Mark kept quiet, which surprised me. Maybe he finally understood the mess he'd got himself into. Or maybe he was just waiting for the storm to pass. Either way, I didn't care anymore. My focus was on healing, on moving forward. I'd taken back control and I refused to let her or anyone else pull me down again. Looking back, I realized the betrayal changed me. I don't trust so easily anymore. I see the signs now, those small, sneaky lies, the way someone avoids eye contact, the sudden change in behavior. But I also learned that sometimes you have to be ruthless to protect yourself. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else will. Her leaving town was the final act. I handed her the keys to her apartment and she left without looking back. I watched her drive away, feeling a strange mix of relief and emptiness. That was the last time I saw her. So what's the takeaway? Well, I guess I'd say this. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. But sometimes the only way to heal is to take control, face the pain head-on, and do what you need to do to reclaim your life. No matter how messy or harsh it feels in the moment, you have to do what's right for yourself. Because in the end, revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about stopping the pain from consuming you. And that, I've learned, is a kind of liberation. After she left, I was left with an odd silence that felt heavier than any shouting or confrontation could have been. The house was suddenly too quiet, like it had absorbed the echoes of everything that had just happened. I sat in the living room, staring at the empty space where she used to be, the realization settling over me that I'd taken back what was mine, my dignity, my trust, my peace. It was like waking up from a long nightmare, except the nightmare had left bruises I'd still be carrying for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, feeling the cold truth settle into my bones. The betrayal had been a brutal blow, but the aftermath was even worse, trying to piece everything back together, knowing that the person I loved had lied to me for months, that Mark, my best friend, had been part of it. I kept thinking about the moments I'd missed, the signs I had ignored, the trust I'd handed over blindly. Looking back, I saw the red flags, the small cracks that should have told me something was wrong, but love, or maybe naivety, made me overlook them. Now I was left to rebuild piece by piece with a clarity I never had before. The pain was still there, gnawing at my insides, but I knew I wouldn't let it destroy me. I had taken the first step in reclaiming my life, and I was damn sure I was going to see it through. That meant no more excuses, no more lingering doubts, just a resolve to move forward stronger and smarter. I've realized that betrayal is a kind of poison, and the only antidote is honesty, harsh, brutal, unflinching honesty with yourself. I could have stayed bitter enough to drown myself in it, but instead I chose to learn from it. Every step I took after that was about protecting myself from falling into that trap again. Trust is fragile, yes, but it's also something you earn, not just give away. And I learned the hard way that some people aren't worth the risk. I still think about her sometimes, how much I loved her, how much I believed in us. Part of me still feels a sting of regret that I let someone so close to me betray me so completely. But then I remind myself, what's the point? Regret won't fix what's broken. What I can do is use it as a lesson, a warning to stay alert, to trust only what I see and what I can verify myself. I also learned something about revenge. It's a powerful thing, one that can turn you into someone you don't recognize. I didn't set out to destroy her. I just wanted her to understand she couldn't get away with it. That was enough. The satisfaction I felt when she finally saw the evidence, when she realized I knew everything, nothing else mattered after that. It was a moment of clarity, a release of all the built-up rage, guilt, and heartbreak. Now I'm focusing on myself, rebuilding my life, finding new purpose, and making sure I never let someone else's lies drown me again. I've started seeing a counselor, talking through what happened, learning how to trust again without losing myself. It's a slow process, but it's worth it. Because I'm finally free from the poison of her lies. Looking back, I can honestly say I don't regret what I did. Sometimes you have to be ruthless to protect what's yours. Sometimes you have to burn bridges to save yourself. That's what I did. I took control, I faced the truth, and I walked away stronger. And I want everyone reading this to know, trust your instincts, pay attention to the red flags, and never settle for less than honesty. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. And so I close this chapter. It's done. The betrayal has run its course and I've reclaimed my life. No more tears, no more regrets. Just a vow to move forward, wiser and more cautious. Because life's too short to waste on lies, and I refuse to let anyone poison my happiness again.